Why don't you start by just telling us a little bit about your background, where you come from, a little bit about your story, so that we could better acquaint ourselves with who you are.
Okay. Right, so I was, my parents are both Holocaust survivors. After the war, they went to Israel. My father fought in the war in '48, and I was born there in '52, and we came to America in 1956. I went to modern Orthodox Hebrew day schools, and then in high school, and you saw a community that was very, very together. Through my experiences in the Syrian community, I came upon people.
Sorry.
I've never had this. So I came along. What's the score? You got me curious. Through my travels in the community, I met people who were associated with Yeshiva University. They were attending Yeshiva University, they were friendly with people in Yeshiva University, and they started this program called Shabbatons. And my friends and I started going on these weekend trips, and they were fun, they were inspiring, and they took our group on a growth path, right, where we all together would start studying together. We started going to classes and lectures and looking for meaning in life. We were in our early 20s at that point, and as a result of the relationships that I had, I learned business through the community. I learned philanthropy through the community, and the community was growing, and I was growing with them. But I think what was really special about my experience there was the drive on the part of this community to build institutions within the community that would cover all the needs of the community. So I saw schools getting built. I saw synagogues getting built. I saw altruistic organizations that were being built. And I was there as part of the growth, and I was getting into this mode of, you have to have a meaningful life. You have to do things that matter, that impact on others, and it's something that you do great as a group, but it's very hard to do on your own. If you're an island and you're working yourself, it's hard to find your way. But when you're working with a group that's inspiring one another, you can accomplish a lot. So that was.
Okay, so that's a great beginning. That's where he's coming from. Now, you don't know this, but Mr. Hersh, I call Ronnie or Ron, he's given away millions of dollars to charity. Right? Very few people can say that. He doesn't like me talking about it. But why did you get involved in charity giving? Where did that come from?
I say, no, look, charity. I was taught there's a 10% rule. Okay, there's something nice about a 10% rule. When you live by rules, when you have structure in your life, and you believe that doing good leads to good things happening to you and good things that happen to those that benefit from your altruism. So the structure of 10% kind of takes the randomness out of the process. I don't have to think, I've been giving too much this year, I'm giving too little this year. My giving is very, very precise. I pay it like a tax. Right, so when I didn't have money, I was giving 10% post-tax. When I started to do very well, I was giving 10% pre-tax. And then jack it up to 11, 12. Don't go crazy, because then you won't have any money left to invest and make more money and be able to give it away. But I live by that 10% rule, as do most of my friends, right? So, for me, at first, when you're making a little bit of money, so it's not too hard to keep count. When you start making a lot of money, open up a foundation, take 10% of the money at the end of the year. I write one check to charity. That's it. It goes into the foundation. Whatever's in that foundation must be given away. It's out of my name. I'm done. Right? And that's the relationship of giving to asking for more, right? So,
Okay, great. So why did you feel that you're gonna take all that investment money and invest it into creating Rage? Why was that important?
Rage was a huge break. Rage was a huge break. You know, you can graduate from college, top of your class. If you don't have a lucky break and get put together with the right party, with the right individual, or the right company, or the right situation, you're not going anywhere. It's not going to work. In my case, I was not a good student. I was a college dropout. I think I was bright, but they don't pay you in school, and I don't work if I don't get paid. So I was fortunate to be put together with an individual who mentored me in life and in business. And through my relationship with him, I was able to get into situations that gave me opportunities to be involved. Rage happened on me, all right? Like a good relationship, Rage was a good charity that walked into my door. 2 rabbis, not you, right? Not you, right? You were a little kid. There was a Rabbi Tokarski, who actually was the founding rabbi of this institution and had the vision for the structure that we have in Rage, came into my house with another rabbi, and they caught me on a good day. I happened to have nothing really meaningful going on at that time. I saw the program on paper. I saw a little piece of it in a tiny little synagogue on East 7th Street in Avenue West. And I said, you know what? I had a little bit of a relationship with the Russian community in that I had relatives that got out in the late 70s, mid to late 70s from the Ukraine. And they stayed in our house. So let me tell you how that happened. That was my family. My parents left Europe after the war. Other family of mine went back home after concentration camp to look for other family members. While they were there, the Russians came and sealed the border. So that trip back cost them 30 years, where my family was able to get out. So I had a little bit of an understanding of what that was all about. So I had a warm place in my heart for anybody that was stuck behind the Iron Curtain. But I thought that the program itself presented great opportunity. And I thought it was a tremendous chance to do something really meaningful in my life. Before that, I was going into programs that were already developed for other people, that were already developed by other people. It was a chance to be a developer myself. It was a chance for me to really get involved. And the way I took it, the way I took it seriously was that I took students from Rage. Every Shabbat in my house, we had students. Explain to me your background. Who are you? How do you view life? How do you view Judaism? How do you view community? Right? Try to understand everything that I possibly can about this community so that I can impact properly. And with the help of yourself and Rabbi Goldstein, Rabbi Katzin, Rabbi Tokarski, and all the rabbis that were involved in the program from inception, I think we built one of the finest organizations of this type in the country.
I agree.
Hard to disagree.
So, like, who are the role models that help you get to that place where you're able to, like, say, you know, I want to take a leadership role, I want to be involved. Like, what? Without
question, there was one guy. I had one guy. That was also my lucky find, right? This guy that I stumbled on. His name is Sandy Sutton. He ended up being my boss for 22 years. I learned the import business through my experience working in his company, his family company, and he was a leader and a role model. Until today, we're best friends. Today, he's working on things like bringing down tuition STEM. He's worked on STEM credits in Albany so that private schools become cheaper and more affordable for people that are sending their children to yeshivot, which is today maybe one of the biggest challenges when you're raising kids, and you want to put them into private Hebrew day schools, the tuition crisis is huge, and he's tackling it. He's tackling so many other projects, you know, and I sit there and I marvel at him, and I'm in competition with him. I'm trying to outdo this guy. I can't get there, you know, but that's, you have to, you know, I have to say this, you know, friends are everything. The people that you make your friends there, they become your sidekicks and your mentors. You're supposed to learn from one another. You have to be each other's mentors. You should be inspiring each other. And this guy, to me, if there was one person, he was the guy.
What makes Sammy successful? Is it just the drive? Is it like what's that special trait that he has that makes him?
I think his family was the same. You know, it's sort of in his family's DNA. He watched his father, he watched his grandfather, right? And then he took on the role himself. But somebody must have started it somewhere, you know, and for all of us, you know, if we look back, if we look at our own families, we say, well, maybe I'll never be that because my parents aren't that or my grandparents aren't that. No, you start, and then your kids see you, and then your grandchildren see you, and they become inspired. So it's like, you know, there's an expression in Hebrew, mitzvah goreret mitzvah, you know, one good deed turns another, right? If you get on a road and you do good things, people see you and they start to emulate you. They say, you know, what can we learn from this guy? You know, and I mean, he was my first inspiration, my biggest inspiration, but I've had many people inspire me since then because he taught me to look for that in people. When you find somebody that has greatness in them, that has real leadership skills, that has a desire and a drive to make an impact on people's lives, grab onto that guy. Stay with them, learn from them, observe them.
Great. And so what are you doing to ensure that you are continuing and growing as a leader?
Right. So now, you know, my role changed. Where I would be the guy, let's say in the trench, working on things, I can now help other people be the guy. And we're starting a new project now. I think that in the 12, 13 years since we started Rage, the Russian community has advanced on many different fronts. There are organizations that have been created by Russian Jews. There's a school over here with 300 kids that are in a trilingual program. Mazal never existed, right? 10 years ago it started. 10 years ago, 20 years after Russians first came to this country, it started. It took a long time for it to begin, but now it began. Now there's 300 kids in the school, and they're quality students. It's not just, you know, Jewish education for the sake of Jewish education. It's quality education, quality secular education, quality Hebrew education. The first graduates came out of there last year, and they started going to mainstream quality Jewish high schools. We have the second cohort now, 13 of the 15 graduates going to quality Hebrew Jewish high schools. We have a Jewish Parenting Association. Parents of the kids who don't know how to pray, they don't go to synagogue because they don't know what to do when they go to synagogue, okay? But they're committed. They want their kids to know. And they started a group themselves that has been growing. There are about 100 couples now that are involved in this organization. And they're bringing in lectures every month or every few weeks. They're doing things to raise their level of knowledge. And there's a nursery school in Manhattan for people who send their kids to private schools, but they want their kids to have Jewish education, so they started something called the Shkola. On and on. I could go on for a couple of more minutes with other programs that are starting, but what we want to do is now take the Russian community and keep it Russian. When we first started this organization, we said that the Russian Jewish community has a shelf life of maybe 10, maybe 15 years, and that's it. And then it's over. I was wrong. You have a very long shelf life. Do you know how old the Syrian community is here? It's 100 years old. Okay? They came here in 1915, 1920. Who the hell calls themselves something 100 years back? You think I'm ever going to call myself a Ukrainian Jew? Are you crazy? My children, I'm not gonna call, what, who does this? But when you are building as a community, when you're growing as a community, when your energy is coming from being a community, I'm a Russian Jew, okay? 3, 4, 5 generations later, as long as that Russianness is making an impact on yourself, why stop? Why stop? We have this Muslim school over here. I want you to ask the question, why the hell are they teaching Russian to the kids for? What are you teaching them Russian for? The parents speak English, kids speak English, what are you teaching them Russian for? The grandparents, okay? The grandparents. It's a reminder of the history that they went through. It's a reminder of the journey that brought them to this country, okay? You never want to lose that. So our mission now that we're embarking on is to make sure that Russian community not only continues, but builds and gets stronger and has an impact on one another, hopefully nationwide. Right now, even Rage, right now we're in Baltimore, we just opened, we're in Manhattan, Brooklyn, Philadelphia, Chicago, right? And we're going to keep going. And the hope is that we begin to bring those communities together. So, you know, there were 2 lessons that I learned from the Syrian community that are daunting to me. One is, I remember when I went into the community, they were very arrogant. You know, they were very arrogant about their Syrianness. And it was like, you know, it wasn't nice. But today, you know what? It's really nice. Arrogant can be a good thing. If you're really proud of what you've accomplished, okay? If you're in the right frame of mind to have a balance of arrogance and caring, sensitivity for others, and a desire to do good, arrogance could be a good thing. I'd like to see the Russian community very arrogant, okay? I'd like to see it be a community that takes care of itself, where the leaders come out and say, you know, the Jewish people have to be helped, but the first thing that has to be helped is the Russian community. We got to make sure that we're taking care of the Russian community, that we're building a solid, strong Russian community with the proper institutions and with sustainable strength. I'm trying to think what the second thing was. I forgot what my second, it'll come to me later. Okay.
What are you most proud of?
Rage? That was easy.
Why are you proud of it?
Well, I mean, what do we have? 4,000 students went through our program over here. 5,500. 5,500. A lot of marriages, a lot of babies, a lot of people connected, a lot of leaders coming out of this that are going to have impact on many others. You know what I love? I love bumping into people that tell me, you know, I'm going through Rage and I don't know them. And that's now more people than I used to know everybody that went through Rage. Now I don't know anybody that goes through Rage. There's just so many, you know, and it's fantastic. So,
you know, for them, they're in the program, they're starting it, they're here for a few, only was their 4th week now? 5th week already? Holy cow, time's flying. And they've been on a Shabbaton with us. We were in Woodbury a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
And you know, I don't know if anyone could really understand what Rage is when you're in the program. I think you get it afterwards. But if you were to give them something to think about while they're going through the program, something that they should be focusing on while they're here, what would that be? If you want to give them something, you know, you did this because you want them to walk away with something. We did this, we're doing this because we want them to walk away with something. What is that one thing you want them to walk away with?
The one thing that I want you to walk away with is that you're on a journey. Journeys take time, okay? You're going to see things and hear things and learn things that need time to process. You have to be able to listen, observe, and just be patient, right? If you're really paying close attention and you're open this is going to turn out to be the life-changing, life-altering experience that I think some of you may be here for. You're going to have the opportunity to build that community that is my dream for you, and to grow with friends that you may be meeting over here, like so many others have in the past. Maybe meet your life partner. But I think don't look for quick change. Don't look for instant gratification from the program. Give it time. Be patient. There's tremendous truth in Judaism. There's tremendous wisdom in Judaism. It takes time to get it. By the way, it's a lifetime endeavor. It's not like, 6 months and you're done. No. It's a matter of deciding that you're going to connect with this journey for life. And it may be in different iterations. You're going to scatter to the winds after you're done with this program, right? And you're going to come in contact with different communities and different friends, business relationships, personal relationships, neighborhoods that you live in, people that you meet on the street. It'll take on different iterations. Just know that you're very, very fortunate to have been born to the Jewish people, to be a part of the Jewish people, and you have to figure out a way to define your lives within that context. And if you do it right, wow, what a life! Amazing.
What's one thing you wish you would have done differently?
I don't think in terms of that. I make mistakes every day. I think if you process right, you have to be very honest with yourself. Okay, and as you're making mistakes, try to realize that you made those mistakes, confront them, adjust them, and keep tweaking your life as you're going along. And if you're not making any mistakes, you're probably not taking any risks, probably not taking any chances, and no risk, no reward.
Why should these guys become leaders? Why should they build community?
Oh, I'm 66. I know, I look 20. I think you get to a point in your life where you want to look back, you assess. Your age, that's the furthest thing from your mind, but it comes fast, and you live with the decisions that you made in your life, right? If you make really good decisions, when you get to that age, people we're working out, we're living longer, we're living healthier, we got a long road to go, My parents, my father passed away, he was 56, my mother was 62, well, vice versa. My mother was 56, my father was 62. I'm past both of them, and I'm like looking at my road, and I got a lot of work to do. I have a tremendous way to go. I want to keep accomplishing. But at least I'm able to look back and see what I've accomplished and say, not bad, pretty good. So far, so good. You want to be able to say that, So the decisions that you make for yourselves, think about building, think about growing in a wholesome way, in a way that's going to make that impact, and you'll be smiling every day when the years really matter,
I'm gonna open up the floor to the students for a couple of questions. I know he's got to run out of here soon. If you were to give Ronnie Hersh, a 25-year-old version of Ronnie Hersh, one piece of advice, what would it be?
Oh. Don't go out with her. Talking about my wife. No. I'm okay.
Okay, good. We're opening questions to the audience. Anyone have any questions? All at once.
What business were you in when you made your first million?
Well, I was in handbags for my. I worked in handbags for another company for 22 years. So I started at about the age of 22 when I was working for them, and then it was less. It was 20 years. So at 42, I went on my own. I started my own business.
Handbags?
Handbags. That's what I knew, right? But it was a different world. So the world that I grew up in, it was a world where The merchant community was successful, you know, I could make 1 week trips visiting retailers in Ohio, right? And then it came down to Walmart, Target, Penny's, Kohl's. You had a handful of customers, they were swallowing up the world. And I had tremendous success. I went out on my own at the age of 42. And I made more money in the next 24 months than I made in the previous 20 years combined.
So beforehand you worked for someone and then you went.
I worked for my friend Sammy Sutton. And then I outran him. Yeah.
I don't know if I heard it or not, but how'd you meet Sammy?
Through the Syrian community. You know, he was there in the middle of our circle of friends. He was like the role model that we looked at. You know, he was the guy that had a lot of wisdom, and we gravitated to him. We had a tremendous amount of respect for him, and I still have a lot of respect for him, and I still gravitate towards him. Yeah.
What do you think are the biggest threats to the prosperity of the modern Jewish community in America, for like the youth?
I'm sorry.
One of the greatest challenges or
Yeah,
threats
it's like,
is
yeah,
for
the Jewish youth
today.
survive.
For Jewish youth, are you talking about prosperity?
Yeah, what are the biggest threats to the Jewish youth prospering in the United
Prosperity.
States?
You're
Well,
talking.
the game is changing, right? The game's changing. So when the game's, you know, I'm in, when I sold my business in 06, actually I was with them for 3 years afterwards on an earn-out. So for the last 10 years, I built a family office, right? I have a couple of people that work for me, accountants, lawyers, and they look at the deals that I bring to the table. So I was focused a lot on asset-based investing, real estate, hard money lending, and real estate, not so easy,
Yeah.
right? And hard money lending is easy, but you have to be more careful. So tonight, I'm going to Israel to meet with a company that I've been working with for the past 6 months to get comfortable with in drip irrigation, right? So it's an exciting play, but I wouldn't have dreamt going into anything like that a few years ago. You know, so today you're reinventing the wheel. You know, my kids are all in different types of businesses now. You know, 2 of them are psychologists. One of them is, she developed a program for coding, teaching coding in schools, right? Teachers, a program that helps teachers monitor the progress of kids doing code. It didn't exist, right? I have another son that's working on the internet with luggage that folds, right? He was on Shark Tank, actually, right? Yeah. So like 50 times already. The reruns are nauseous already. So just all unconventional kinds of things. I'm actually looking to invest in young people, right? Because you're going to come up with new ideas. You better.
Invest in me.
Yeah.
Invest in me.
Invest in me.
Oh,
He already had, that's why you're here.
you got a good idea. Let me know. What?
I don't have that yet. Maybe.
The guy behind me.
You mentioned that you're giving 10% to charity.
Yeah.
Right? My question is, was that from your profits or was that from your gross income?
So no, so I'm doing now, I do from gross. But when you start out, when you're making tiny money, so after taxes is a good enough rule. When you have more disposable income, okay, and you can afford to give on the gross, that's a good thing to do. But just do it. Trust me, just do it. It's very good. Yes?
How do you know which charity is like a good charity to donate to?
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. So, I think early on, okay, I like my charity dollars to make a difference.
Right.
Okay? So when national organizations that are already taking, you know what, I'm gonna go a different way. I'm gonna go a different way with you. You know who you should give to? Russian charities. charities that do good for the Russian community. Exclusively. How's that? Okay? If all of your money goes to that, all of you, everybody, and everybody that you know, right? You start going out there, Russian charities first. Okay? Russian charities first. Create Russian charities first. Give to Russian charities first. You're going to see a big change in the Russian community. I think that needs to happen. And you know, parenthetically, the subject of charity was always a sore subject in the Russian community. Because, and I'll go back to my Syrian history, okay, the Syrian community always gave money. They were always very, very charitable. Always. So, you know, when you go into a community where charity is in the DNA, it becomes easy to be charitable, right? You want to be charitable. You know, America invented the name on the window syndrome, you know, the name on the door, donated by Mr. Moskowitz, donated by Mr. So-and-so. You know, we have that all over the place because it got people to give. You have to come out with it. So in this community, because the Russians took that charitable soul out of the Jewish people and made everybody fend for themselves, right? You had to beg, borrow, and steal in order to survive. And there was no time to give, okay? Because I don't have what to give. In fact, I have to cheat to get, okay? Now you're in America for a long enough period that game needs to change. And the people that change that game are the people in this room. You guys have to change it, okay? You're not going to find a tremendous amount of role models in your community, in your history, that were givers. But you can change that. You have to become givers. Yep.
So what do you think about the fact that, like, the Jewish community wants everyone to get a Jewish education, but it's so unattainable to do it nowadays?
Yeah, so that's why I was talking about my friend working on the STEM credits up in Albany, how important it is. It's just very expensive. You know, when you look at we live in a marvelous country that also happens to have a church and state issue. Okay, in England, okay, they don't have church-state issues. So I think the number is 70% of the Jewish community sends their kids to Hebrew day schools. Consequently, the assimilation rate is extremely low in England. Over here, we have church-state issues. Tuition is very, very expensive in private schools. Okay, so what happens? We have a high assimilation rate because the Gentiles in this country are very nice, right? So why not, right? But we're not building Jewish identity in that population. And what we have today is a situation where, after 3,500 years since Abraham, 70% of the Jews in this country are at the exit door. They're ready to check out. Okay, so the first and foremost way to survive Jewishly is education. Okay, whether it's education for little kids, education for people such as yourselves, okay, or later in life, education keeps you in the fold. You give up the education, you're out, because there's no purpose to the whole religion. You're done. Yes?
How would you say your Judaism impacted your business decisions? Not in terms of charity, but in terms of everything.
Oh, so you know, I'm sitting with Walmart on a Friday morning and we're going through a meeting and I gotta go. I gotta catch my flight home. Okay? My religion gives me priorities. Okay? If Penny says, come to the office on Saturday, okay, we got $1 million order waiting for you. No, can't do it. I have a priority. Okay, my religion says I can't come. If we go to a non-kosher restaurant, I'll sit there eating lettuce and tomato. That's all you're gonna have? Yeah, I'm not hungry. Or I am hungry, but I'm kosher and I can't eat anything that you're eating. Right? I have no problem telling them that. The non-Jewish customers that I worked with had all the respect in the world for it. They were amazing. The Jewish customers were a different story. All right? I'm not kidding. Okay, religious Jews, they would look at me like, that, you give up a big order for that, for this nonsense, for this antiquated religion? Yeah. But the Gentiles were great. So, Is that an answer? Does that, yeah? Yeah,
What advice would you give to someone who's looking to start a business or a company?
have a good business plan. Check carefully, because you're about to invest a lot of time and energy, and either your money or other people's money. And make sure that you're right. You know, I'm going tonight, I'm going to talk to these people. Before I went. I was in Australia. I went to look at the fields that they put their new technology. I went to Arizona. I went physically, I went talking to farmers, right, doing a lot of homework. And in my mind, I'm convinced that I'm gonna do this. But I'm taking all of my homework down to the end, okay? Make sure that I'm checking all the boxes. And for those boxes that I can't check, I have to assess, are they important or not? Be honest. And don't get emotionally involved with a good idea. Okay? If you really gave something a lot of thought, don't get married to the idea. It's just business. And if you decide somewhere along the way, maybe it wasn't such a good idea, pull the plug. Good?
One last question, anyone?
Yes?
What if you invested so much money into that idea? Would you still want to see it continue?
Cut your losses.
Hmm?
Cut your
Cut
losses.
your losses?
If it's no good, be honest with yourself. It's
What
no
if you have
good.
nothing more to spend? Like,
If you have nothing more to spend,
Yeah.
get a partner. Okay.
Ronnie, if you could recommend one book that inspired you the most, about the deep impact, what would it be?
The Bible.
Thank you very much, Ronnie Hersh.
Got a business. I get this all the time.
Press finish.
Okay.